You're listening to How to 20-something, the best podcast that helps both men and women navigate their 20s and learn how to adult across all aspects of their lives. We're going to focus on career, relationships, finances, fitness, nutrition, and all of the common challenges and obstacles a typical 20-something will face in this post-college life. I'm your host, Jess Diamond, and I am the CEO and founder of Jess Diamond Coaching, where I help young professionals get their shit together, gain their confidence, and own their life. No one prepares you for this adulting world, so allow me to help you feel like you are no longer a chicken running around with its head cut off and that you actually know what the hell is going on and what your next step to take is. Welcome to How to 20-something. Welcome back to How to 20-something, where today's topic is learning how to use your laziness to your advantage. I don't consider myself a lazy person, but I do have some lazy tendencies, even if it doesn't appear that way on the surface level of having my shit together. But trust me, I do have my lazy moments, and therefore, I implement certain systems in my life where I do feel lazy and want to make accomplishing something as easy as possible. Because laziness is actually a good quality to have. It requires you to ask, what's the easiest way to get this task done and still get the same or similar result? Lazy gets a bad rap because of the negative avoidance side where you continue to put things off or procrastinate what needs to get done. When we hear lazy, we think couch potato, unmotivated, someone with no direction or drive. But a little laziness is what helps you figure out how to make life easier. That's being efficiently lazy. It's your brain's way of thinking outside of the box to get a job done in a better way. Some of the best inventions we use today came about because someone had a lazy mindset and wanted to find an easier method to accomplishing the same task. So laziness is not striving to do more, but rather be more efficient that can then be built into good habits or your next invention, which is what this episode is to highlight. This is your lazy guide to good habits. It's things that work when you're tired, when you're done thinking for the day, feel unmotivated, have no energy, and just want to plop on the couch and doom scroll. Which is actually so important to develop because if you can only implement your good habits when you're in your most productive mindset, then you're setting yourself up for failure. Productivity is temporary, and searching for motivation is unreliable. I want you to think of creating systems that help you to decrease the amount of decisions you need to make on a daily basis and the amount of barriers between you and accomplishing this good habit. I talk to my clients a lot about this when it comes to their routine. We discuss thinking with your future self in mind, but we also discuss the decision fatigue every human battles at the end of every day, which is why the question of what to make for dinner seems like the most daunting, most tiring task of your life. And you end up door dashing for the fourth night in a row, which I'll get into in a second, that door dashing is actually making your decision fatigue worse. But first, let's break down decision fatigue. Everyone experiences this throughout their day because you're now in charge of all of your own decisions. So everything, from the moment you decide to what time to wake up, to the moment you decide what time to go to sleep, and every moment in between. Every single piece of your life requires a decision to be made. Some are definitely bigger than others, but the bottom line is you reach your max and are tired of having to decide on one more thing. This is where the good habit of meal prepping or laying your clothes out ahead of time helps you decrease the amount of decisions you need to make in that moment or for that particular day. I made an Instagram post a few months ago that said, I meal prep because I'm lazy, which sounds backwards because when you think of people who consistently meal prep or watch a TikTok of someone spending their entire day in the kitchen prepping all of their meals for the entire week, you think, wow, they're productive, disciplined human beings. And I'm not. Or, as my boyfriend would say, you just don't have that dog in you. And sure, some of those people probably are exceptionally productive and motivated and disciplined humans. But for me, the reality is I don't want to have to think about what to eat, how long it's going to take to make, or cleaning multiple pots and pans every single day. I'm lazy in that regard because the last thing I want to do with my time is clean the freaking kitchen. So I meal prep to eliminate all of that. The meal is ready to go. I just have to sit down and eat it and then clean one Tupperware container. The added benefit is I have a healthy meal ready to go where I'm fueling my body, so I feel great, and then I also look great. I'm also able to save more money and time because it's so much more cost effective to prep meals instead of eat out if you do it right and reuse ingredients from week to week. Not necessarily the same exact recipes, but the same basis for your meals for the most part. And time-wise is I'm not cooking every single day for every single meal. Circling back to why DoorDash is actually making your life harder is because you have to think about everything. And therefore, you're making yourself more tired, or you're not going to make the best choice. You have to decide where you want to order from, what to get on the menu, how long you're willing to wait for this food, or if you're picking it up, then it's making the detour to go drive to another destination, walk in and grab your food. Plus, it's more expensive, and it's more unhealthy since you aren't in full control of your own portions and ingredients. So when it comes to this lazy guide to good habits, you need to think in terms of what your laziest self would be able to muster up in the moment, or rather, what can you implement ahead of time so you don't have to rely on discipline? Because discipline will fail you time and time again until your habits are fully ingrained in your life. But even then, that's no longer discipline, that's your lifestyle. I want to get you to a point where you rely on design. When the system is foolproof, it requires no extra thought. Essentially, it's building a routine for yourself that limits the barriers of entry. So I already talked about meal prepping, eliminating the thought and effort required of you at the end of the day when it comes to your meals, or even throughout the day. So let's shift into the next hard habit to keep up with: exercise. If you want to become a morning gym goer, then you need to have your gym clothes laid out the night before, so it's one less thing you have to think about that morning. You should know ahead of time what day you're doing what, and keep it written down. Again, so you don't have to think about it when the time comes. If you're someone who struggles to get to the gym before work, because let's say you're not a morning person, then going after work is going to be your answer. However, you are going to be more mentally tired after your work day, so the extra effort to get yourself to the gym becomes an additional barrier of entry. To help with this, you need to bring your workout clothes with you to work, change while you're at the office, and then make it a stop on the way home, which also means you need to have some kind of snack prepped for either before and or after your workout, so you aren't ravenous when you get home and are waiting for dinner to be ready. This is an example I give in my newest free offering of how to maximize your 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5. So if you're curious as to what else you can do to not feel like work is consuming your entire week, then check out the link in the show notes. But in regards to this episode, there's 2 goals that come with implementing habits in the easiest way possible. Eliminate the number of decisions that need to be made to accomplish said task, and similarly, eliminate as many extra steps between you and the task as you can. We're done trying to rely on willpower. It's creating systems that can be repeated time and time again with no extra thought. You also need to build this into your schedule. It's an appointment with yourself, just like you schedule your dentist appointments or therapy appointments or coaching appointments, etc. Designate what hour of time you will dedicate to moving your body. When I was in college, everyone asked me all the time how I have time to work out every day. And outside of my poor body image and fear of gaining the freshman 15, I said I plug it into my schedule like it's another class to go to. It's on my calendar every day, depending on the day, so I don't need to think about where to carve out the time in the moment. It's done ahead of time, ahead of that day. And if an hour is too much, then fit it to your schedule and needs. Heck, even break up your workout where maybe you move your body for 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the evening, or 10-minute chunks throughout the day. It's about knowing ahead of time what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. Similarly, if you're wanting to have a side hustle, a passion project, a new degree or certification outside of your full-time job, you need to plug it into your calendar so you know ahead of time when you're going to work on those things. If you want to read more, but are constantly drawn to your phone or TV, then leaving your book out and open is one way to increase the likelihood of you reading at least 1% more than if the book stayed closed and on a shelf. If you want to journal more, then same thing. Leave it out and open with your favorite pen ready to go. Decreasing the number of steps it takes to shift from your bad habit to your good habit is decreasing the barriers of entry to you actually doing it. When you start this guide to good habits, you'll quickly realize that it's not about doing more or adding more to your schedule or list of to-dos. It's about doing things in the easiest, frictionless way possible. And yes, there are going to be days where you don't want to do anything. You don't want to implement even the laziest and easiest of habits, to which I want to tell you that that is totally normal. You're new to this habit thing, and you're human, so it's going to take time before it's fully sustainable, where you're thinking doing anything else makes no sense. It will become a natural part of your existence, where you want to eat good food that doesn't hurt your stomach and then also leaves you feeling content and unfazed, or where you're itching to move your body because it's been sitting at a desk all day, or where you want to go to bed at a decent time because it sucks to wake up groggy, or where you want to spend your Friday night playing board games instead of at a bar because you want your entire weekend to do whatever you want and not spend it hungover on the couch. Some of this comes with maturing and growing up, but most of this comes with waking up and realizing that the bad habits you have right now are actually making your life harder, not easier. What you think is the easy way out is really the harder way forward. The third part of being lazy in an efficient way is to automate systems. That's your calendar reminders, your bills, recurring orders or subscriptions. Again, giving you at least one less thing to think about. I know for me, I am really dialed in on my finances and keep my fixed expenses automated and my variable ones I know to pay because I like to see what's changed and if there's any discrepancies. If you're someone who wants to be dialed in on their finances, or at least more dialed than you currently are, then I would say start with at least writing down every time you charge something to your credit card. Or designate one day out of the month to review your expenses and slowly start to categorize them so you see where you're spending your money and if that's how you want to be spending your money. There are also resources to help make this easier for you, like Mint, using Excel, which is what I like to do, working with a financial advisor, because a large part of building new habits is knowing where to delegate the things you're not very good at with the goal to get better. But at first, it's going to be very overwhelming. So when you find a resource to help bridge this gap, you're going to have less resistance to getting started. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here. You need to simplify your decisions, your barriers, and your systems in a way that's going to work for you. And as a result, you become the laziest, which really translates to the smartest person in the room. Just make sure the lazy identity you're claiming is working for your future self and not trapping your present self. The goal is to optimize your time, energy, and possibly even money. And who wouldn't want that? Being an adult is already exhausting between balancing all of these new schedules, people, demands, and responsibilities with trying to live it up in your 20s without regrets and achieving goals along the way. And you can be both responsible and free-willed as long as you implement this guide to good habits now that you've listened to me talk about them. I think finding different ways to optimize my time and tasks is fun. It's like, ooh, how can I do this better with less output? And that's what I want for you too. So if you need help with implementing your own version of good habits, the lazy way, then let's hop on a call because I think coaching with me is just what you need. And lucky for you, my calendar is in the show notes for you to access. Otherwise, this does conclude another episode of How to 20-something. So if you liked what you heard, learned something new, are ready to try one of the habits I talked about, then please let me know. Tell me via email, share this episode to your story on Instagram, and tag me when you do. Send it to a friend who needs help with their habits too. Just please help me expand this podcast to reach new 20-somethings across the world. I can't do it without you. And as always, I can't wait to be in your headphones again next week with another brand new episode of How to 20-something.